Hi, I'm Dave. Welcome to Dave Takes It On. It's Christmas, so a very Merry Christmas to everyone out there, even the EV haters. And I wish you a very prosperous and happy New Year. Welcome to our Friday night news update, last one before Christmas. So there's an awful lot happening, so we're going to do a quick roundup of everything around the world that's likely to impact us for next year. Okay, the first item reminds me of horses and stable doors for some reason. Well, BMW, General Motors, Stellantis, Mercedes, Honda, Kia, Hyundai, they've just announced they're getting together and launching a massive installation of EV chargers totaling 30,000 by 2030. Well, let's get a little bit realistic here. First of all, it's a target. Nothing's been done yet. Not a single charger has been installed under this programme. The first of these is due out late summer next year, 2024. Is that going to be reached? And 30,000 by 2030? Good target. Let's hope them all the success in the world. Tesla announced they have over 50,000 chargers already installed, and they're installing at an incredible rate. So, how did the last venture go? I seem to remember back in about 2010, 2011, they were all starting to get together, running right through to 2015 when they were developing the CCS2 concept. And companies like Audi, BMW, Daimler, Ford, General Motors, Porsche, Volkswagen. Well, how did that one go? I don't seem to remember that one being a startling success. You only have to ask some of the drivers with CCS2, non-Teslas, whether that was a success. It wasn't. Okay, a landmark record. Over 1 million EVs have been sold in the USA to date. And this year, it's a 50% increase on last year. This is a remarkable achievement. People said EVs will never catch on, but a little company started the ball rolling big time about 13, 14 years ago, and today it's really taken off. Well done, America. You're a little behind elsewhere in the world, but well done for getting there eventually. Now, a quick look today at total electricity generation for all you EV haters who say the grid's going to collapse. Well, today it's cold, wet, windy, overcast, and yet 57% of all our electricity is coming from renewable resources, 0% from coal, no more coal, and only 9% from gas. Total demand is 33 gigawatts as I record this, and of that, renewables are producing 22 gigawatts. Gas, the saviour for everyone, just 3.5 gigawatts. Well, this just shows what can be done. We'll look at some PV figures in a minute, but what we need is much more renewable, and we need to get the storage up to speed. Okay, another meeting. OPEC had a meeting. Well, they had a meeting last year to cut oil production because oil prices were falling. Is this not a cartel? Are they not illegal? And do we base our prices in the UK on the prices fixed by a cartel? Oh, anyway, what have they done? Well, they did announce a cut in oil production designed to raise prices and therefore increase their profits. But apparently it hasn't worked. Yeah, the prices have gone up, as some of you at the pumps will have noticed when you're buying your petrol and diesel, but their profits have not reached the levels they were anticipating. So guess what? They've just had another meeting and they've just announced another cut. Well, I say cut, series of cuts all around the world. Hey, I'll say one thing, they are determined. If they want their profits to increase, they will get there eventually. But having a look at this, what you find is those price rises, following on from the cuts, do have a limit. If you put the price up too much, price of petrol goes up, people stop driving and the sales drop. Bit of a catch-22 there. We'll see how that one works out for them. Well, Ford, meanwhile, has run out of space to store all the top-of-the-range, expensive luxury cars that it cannot sell. Well, no, I tell a lie. It can sell them to the dealers. It's the dealers who can't sell them on to us, the customers. Now, Ford had a policy of only making top-of-the-range models. Wonder why that was. Think back to Opec. If Ford only make top-of-the-range models, customers have no choice. They have to buy more expensive models. And more expensive models means more increase in profits. Again, is this not obvious? It's a very short-term measure. If you increase the price of your models beyond a certain point, the customers can't afford them. We have a bit of a inflation going on at the moment, and interest rates are pretty much as high as they've been for a long time. Certainly higher than 2 or 3 years ago when this sort of project was being envisaged. Back then, customers couldn't get enough cars. Well, now they're overflowing with cars, prices have gone up, the loans have gone up, and they're not selling them. So their answer? Well, let's make more higher end models so that if we do sell one, we'll make a really healthy profit. See how that one works out. Well, Tesla seems to think maybe that's not the way to head. Tesla's just announced it's slashing prices of the old Model 3. For those of you who remember, the Model 3 has just been refreshed. It's called the Highland, and that one is selling at the same price as the old one. And that left a bit of a surplus of stock of the old models, which nobody in the right mind would buy. So what does Tesla do? Well, they do the opposite to Ford. They decide, let's slash prices and just sell them at any price. Now, the press and the media announce this as Tesla's desperate, it's got to slash prices. You'll see in the figures shortly that that's absolutely not the case. All it is Tesla have a potential excess of stock of the old models, so they've slashed the price. You can now buy a Tesla Model 3. This is a luxury performance, large family saloon, and with the government IRA allowance of $7,500, it's now available at $28,000 throughout the whole of America. To put that into context, Toyota Corolla, a very small little petrol hatchback, is now selling at $24,000 for the minimum basic model. Wonder where this one's going. Well, USA continues to bring its jobs back home by, well, it's just sold its largest steel plant to Japan's Nippon Steel. So, it would seem, we're not going to concentrate on creating jobs at home. I would imagine half of the steel production is now going to disappear to Japan, which is suffering even worse from the recession and inflation than America. Isn't this strange? Japan, tiny little island nation, they're good. China right next door, really cheap labour, they're bad. Oh well, no accounting for economics. Well, EV sales in Europe, they're taking a bit of a turn for the worse for some. Stellantis dropped right to the bottom of the list. Most of the others, absolute disaster. Tesla just rising to the top. They've just become the best-selling car in Germany, beating all of the others. And the latest figures show that out of the top 10 best-selling cars in Europe, EVs, that Tesla have sold 21,000 with the Model Y and the Model 3, and all the rest combined have sold 35,000. What was that Elon said about making a model that was desirable and affordable? Maybe the rest should take a lesson. Okay, looking around the world, China's going off the boil anyhow because new study shows that the cheapest labour you can now get is in Mexico. Oh, isn't that exactly where Tesla's just building its latest gigafactory? Well, after Mexico, it's India, and after India, China's dropped down to third place. Now, with the activities of the union in America, I think American labour prices have gone through the roof. So anyone like to have a guess where the likes of Ford, General Motors, Stellantis are going to be manufacturing their latest models? Luckily, models manufactured in Mexico do qualify for the government IRA subsidy tax grant. Oh well, strange world. Well, to address the no home charging issue, the one thing stopping a number of people from buying them, there's been an absolutely massive drive in workplace chargers and destination chargers. This is the big boom here in the UK and around the world. Best Western Hotels, yeah, we've got them here. They've just announced a massive order to Tesla for their destination chargers. These are 7 or 11 kilowatts ones, exactly the same as I've got installed here. And it means that their hotel car parks will be packed full of them. Now, some of you will have seen my video about my trip across South Wales and will remember that in Newport, the supercharger is actually in the grounds of a hotel. And they have 20 or 30 destination chargers there, which are free to hotel guests. So, is this the way forward? Well, it actually is, particularly with workplace. If you run a business and your staff are now asking for the salary sacrifice system so they can buy an EV, which is a cracking deal, by the way, then it makes sense for you to put in workplace destination charges. Now, if you go to a company like PodPoint, they will actually put them in for free. They have a range of deals on offer. One of them is just hand the whole thing over to them. They will install them, run them and everything. But the usual arrangement is they will install them free of charge and you do a deal on splitting the revenue they generate from the electricity they sell. So for workplaces, it means you don't have to pay anything to get a proper workplace charging station covering 5, 10, 20, 50 chargers in your car park. Totally free. So why is this important? Well, if you think that you have to have home charging, then your thinking will go something like this. Every day I have to come home, I have to plug my car into my home charger. It will charge slowly overnight, so when I wake up in the morning, the battery will be fully charged and I can go off on the day. And then I repeat that at night. So if I haven't got home charging, I obviously can't have an EV. Well, let's reverse that with workplace chargers. You have no charger at home, you don't need one. What happens is you jump in your car, which is part of your salary sacrifice supplied by the company. You drive to your workplace. You pull into the car park and you plug it in to a workplace charger. It will sit there all day, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours, however long it is you work there for. And so when you come out of work at the end of the day and jump in your car, it will be fully charged, allowing you to drive home. Don't bother plugging it in at home, you haven't got a charger, and you'll have plenty of charge to get back to work the next day. Now, it does mean that whatever you put in the day will almost certainly exceed what you use getting to and from work. So on a Friday night when you get home, your battery is likely to be fully charged. And at that point you can go driving around all over the weekend without any home charging or public charging. As long as you're not going to do more than about 200 miles, which most cars can cover in one single charge, and just leave enough for you to get back to work on the Monday morning and plug in again. Wow, is that a turn up for the books? But also, look at the hotels, car parks, shopping centres. All of those are installing destination chargers. Now, you go to a hotel like the Celtic Manor Hotel in Newport, you stay overnight, you plug your car in. Great, absolutely brilliant. You wake up every morning, it's fresh. So Best Western Hotels just announced a massive deal with Tesla to buy their V4 chargers off them and install tens of thousands of them around the world. So again, if you don't have charging at home, if everywhere you go you find there are hotel car parks, there are retail parks, there are workplace chargers. If everywhere you go you can just plug your car in and do a top up, whether it's an hour or 7 hours, then you don't actually need a home charger. One of the things most people don't realise about an EV is that it will sit for about 22 hours every single day not being used. You may do a half-hour commute in the morning, half-hour back in the evening. You may do a bit of a drive at weekend. Your car is sat there all the time, not doing anything. If you can get enough destination chargers, workplace chargers, you can just make sure wherever you go, you just plug it in, top it up. Anyway, moving on. Okay, just having a look at Australia. There's a certain anti-EV channel that I've referenced a few times. I don't name names because I don't want to drive any extra business to this obviously ridiculous site telling lies. But the very latest is, it's getting a bit desperate, isn't it? He's had a look at the Cybertruck and he's told everyone, don't buy the Cybertruck, it is too ugly. Well, okay, sorry, I was going to say something about looking in the mirror, but no, that's lowering myself a little bit too far. This really is desperation setting in. If the only thing you can say about a car is that you find it ugly and you wouldn't buy one, getting a bit desperate. Well, back here in the UK, our insurance companies are starting to refuse to insure certain cars. No, not EVs. These are Land Rovers and Range Rovers. Apparently, they're way too easy to steal and they're just going at a massive rate. And we're seeing prices quoted for people with Land Rovers and Range Rovers, admittedly top of the range, paying over £5,000 a year on average and up above £10,000 a year in certain hotspots. Makes my EV insurance, £1,200, look really cheap. Looking at the banks, there's a movement around the world now. They're stopping lending to customers who want to buy petrol and diesel cars. Whoa! Okay, this is unexpected this early on. This was obvious for later, but at this stage it's quite unexpected. What they're saying is these loans are becoming too risky. Well, the interest rates are high already. People are struggling to make their payments. If you're going to buy an ICE car at sky-high interest rates, first of all, financially, there's a very good chance you might well get it back again as a default. You just can't afford it anymore, so you hand it back. But if EVs do take off, and if that drives down the price of all cars, not just EVs, then it means these ICE cars they're lending money against will not be worth anything like the outstanding debt if they're handed back. And banks do not like lending money, not getting paid interest, and not having assets sufficient to cover the loan. Wonder why? So what we're seeing is the banks are now starting to get very choosy. Over in the States, the interest rate on car loans for petrol and diesel cars is now rocketing. You're talking about 10% if you've got good credit rating, 15 to 20% if you're not absolutely perfect. Some of the ICE manufacturers, the legacies like Ford Motor Company, General Motors, they're starting to offer just a few zero interest loans to their customers, using their own finance, of course. No banks would touch that. But in general, the rates are going higher. Tesla, however, not only have they slashed prices, they're offering 6.9%. And you get 6 months free supercharging. Whoa! This is seriously good stuff. Come on, Tesla, there's more you can do. Oh yes, there is. Cybertruck deliveries now happening. And there's a load of videos on YouTube, mainly Sandy Munro and others, and they've been given a totally open tour of the factory. Now, this just doesn't happen in the motor world, in the auto world. Everything people do, it's all top secret, hidden. You can't let it out of the bag. What we're working on, what we're hoping to achieve. Tesla has a Cybertruck open day, and it just invites all of the engineers who want to go and have a wander around the factory. What they found was absolutely amazing. They have discovered that the factory is already set up for mass production. Now, they're not making Cybertrucks in mass production yet. They are, though, geared up for it. So what happens is, as they start making cars in larger numbers, what you'll see is they just slowly ramp up the speed until quality control says, whoa, hang on a minute, we're going a bit too fast at this stage. So speed will be backed off. Whatever caused the quality control issue will be rectified, and then they'll go back to ramping up the speed. We're going to find that the speed of manufacture of these Cybertrucks is going to be way more than most people are anticipating. So can they sell them? Well, obviously at this stage we're in the early adopters. These are people who'll buy anything at any price, and these are absolute magnet for them. This is just so different, so high tech, so status symbol. Everyone's got to have one. If you're one of these rich people, you'll just go out and buy these. Time will tell, because the early adopters will drop off. Tesla have announced they do have 2 million advance pre-orders. These are held on a $250 deposit. But they're now writing to everyone saying, if you want your Cybertruck, you need to convert your $250 into a decent size deposit and confirm your order. Well, that obviously won't happen this year, but over the first 6 months of next year, what you're going to see is a number of the early reservations just dropping off the system. It always will. A lot of people just speculative. Yeah, let's just go and reserve one, see what happens. However, the one to watch is how many people are confirming their orders with a larger deposit. That's the telling one. I think we're going to start getting an indication of that in 6 months' time. So my prediction, the early adopters will drop off, but nothing like the extent that people are claiming, and the dedicated buyers will grow. Not only will some of those who have early reservations turn it into a firm order, but other people seeing them on the road will be going, wow, look at that. That is amazing. And when they start seeing all the videos on YouTube about these going faster than Lamborghinis and Ferraris and Porsches, a number of totally new buyers who never reserved will put their orders in. I predict that the orders will grow over the year, and Tesla will be required to increase the rate of production way above the 250,000 that they've set as their first target. That's my prediction, 2024. We will see this before the end of 2024, so we'll come back to that in 12 months' time. Now in the UK, there's a lot of moves happening at the moment, particularly regarding UK public EV chargers. Well, they have been taking an awful lot of government money, grants and subsidies to install loads and loads and loads of EV chargers, rapids and ultra rapids around. And we're seeing that everywhere we go. There are chargers going in everywhere. However, those grants and subsidies and tax breaks were subject to meeting certain targets. For example, reliability was one of those, which must be over 99%. So, if they want to keep on getting funds, what they've already installed from January the 1st will now be monitored much more closely. And if they have, as a lot of them have, just slapped them in and let them fail, and we do in our travels, Jonas and I come across a large number of new chargers that just aren't working. We saw 6 out of 12 grid serves recently down. We witnessed a total grid serve site going down, and we've seen others just being switched off because they've stopped working. So what's going to happen now is those future funds are going to dry up, and they're going to have to spend some money, which, well, they haven't set aside any for, and they're going to have to get all their existing EV chargers up to date, fully working, before they can get any fresh money. So at last, starting January 1st, we're likely to see a lot of these out of use, out of service chargers coming back online. If they can achieve that, then they have a chance for the future. See, one of the problems is that Tesla spotted this a long time ago. What they saw was that you need fast, reliable charging to encourage people to buy EVs. So Tesla started their charger installation, their superchargers, and they were all high speed. They started at 150 kilowatts and they're now up at 250 kilowatts. But they've also worked on the cars, and the cars charge very much faster than your average car. So all of the Model 3s now minimum 170, 175 kilowatts, but the long range and the performance models across the board are now 250 kilowatts. Tesla also adapted the software in the car so that if ever you tell the car, sat-nav, that you're going to a charger, it will automatically precondition the battery. Even in the summer, mine often comes on with an ambient temperature of 21 degrees. And what this means is that Tesla cars will arrive at the Tesla chargers with a very nice warm battery waiting to be charged at full speed. The car will be able to take 170 kilowatts. Most of the chargers now are 250 kilowatts, so they will charge really fast. And the average Tesla charging time now has been reduced down to about 15 minutes for a 20% to 80% charge. And that means that each Tesla supercharger has a throughput of up to 4 cars an hour. Now, let's have a look at non-Tesla CCS2 chargers. No names here, they're all the same. But unfortunately, the EVs that they are charging do not have hugely fast charging speeds. Most of them, Stellantis for example, very rarely allow above 100 kilowatts. Some of the older cars are 80 kilowatts, and even the new Dacia Spring, that one's about 35 kilowatts. So what this means is that all these 350 kilowatt chargers going in are going to be plugged into cars that can take less than 100. Many of these, because charging is so slow, will also want to charge up to 100%. Just blocking the chargers. But what it means from a business point of view is that a 350 kilowatt charger charging a Fiat 500, the car's going to be there for 30, 40, 50 minutes trying to get the charge up. They'll quote 20 to 80% in 45 minutes or something. But in reality, people often charge above that, and some of them charge slower. So it means that these 350 kilowatt chargers are going to be taking about an hour to charge one car. That's 4 times slower than the Tesla superchargers. And we see this in EV production as well. Volkswagen have announced it takes them 3 times as long to make an EV as Tesla does. Speed, mass production, it's the secret. So we are going to see more chargers, which is absolutely great for all EV drivers. We're going to see a lot more Teslas. They've installed about 300 new chargers this year across 17 locations. It's a massive program going on. So let's hope that this all heads in the right direction. My own personal prediction for next year, well, Tesla will install more. Tesla will start dropping prices where other chargers are already or being installed, and they are going to have to cut their prices. If that happens, the money for keeping and maintaining the chargers is going to dry up overnight. Future investment is just going to end totally, and we're going to see all charger prices coming down. How's that for a prediction? Will Tesla recall up to 4 million EVs for a critical upgrade? No. This was all about full self-driving or autopilot. There is no such thing as full self-driving legally at the moment. But on autopilot, it requires driver attention. And the powers that be, NHTSA, they decided that Tesla drivers were not required to pay enough attention to the road, which would make the autopilot potentially dangerous. Tesla agreed. And so Tesla has produced an over-the-air update to force drivers to pay more attention. You know that niggly thing where you have to touch the wheel every so often, or with some cars you have eye tracking to make sure you're looking ahead at the road. It just means that in future, drivers on autopilot will be required to actually watch the road. That's what it's intended for. That's what it's sold as on the website. Meanwhile, Ford retains its place as the #1 auto company for product recalls. Just so many, you can't even count them. And Toyota today also recalls 1 million. All of those have to go back to the factory. Isn't it strange that Tesla sending out an over-the-air update while the drivers are asleep is called a recall, and Toyota drivers all having to go back to the factory and leave the car in for some time is also a recall. And just on the point of recalls, turns out the Nissan Ariya, it has no recalls. Well, they have a facility for over-the-air updates. And recently there were 2 recalls for Nissan. Both of those were fixed with what they called an over-the-air update, but the cars had to go into the workshop in order to get the over-the-air update. And I'm thinking, hang on, if it is an over-the-air update, it doesn't matter where the car is. It's an over-the-air update. If it has to go into the workshop, it means it's not a true over-the-air update. Someone somewhere in the workshop has to do something manually. Well, Tesla drivers, meanwhile, they're averaging something like 1 a week over-the-air update. Some of them are general improvements and necessary ones, and most of them are just bonuses. I mean, recently, for example, a lot of people complained about the wipers. It wasn't very good. It sometimes wouldn't detect when the rain was there and would leave the wipers on a bit longer once the rain had stopped. A lot of people complained. Last over-the-air update just come out. You get an update to the wiper control. And first reports back from that one, it's now working properly. You don't have to take over and manually adjust your wipers. And I still get about 1 a month. My car's now 7 years old. I get bonus ones all the time. Loads of things happening. And usually there's another bonus one at Christmas. This one has hidden Easter eggs. For those of you who don't know, an Easter egg is just something, think about the Easter egg hunt, it's just something that's hidden away within the over-the-air update that you have to look for. It might be having to rename your car 42. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy fans will know what that means. And if you do these sorts of things, new features will open up. Well, that's absolutely great. But in the meantime, one I got about 3 years ago is my Christmas update. So that one's running at the moment. So every time the car starts up, my car is no longer shown as a Tesla Model S in the display. It's now a Santa Claus on a sleigh with reindeer. And my indicators no longer go... They play jingle bells. It's hilarious. No use whatsoever, but hilarious. And the display has now got snow falling all the time. I don't know. I just like it. Okay, UK photovoltaic panels is on a massive sales boom at the moment as the price of the panels continues to drop. It's a boom industry. We should be putting more money into this boom industry. Apparently now 73% of all photovoltaic panels are going onto private homes, not into big solar PV farms. Those solar farms did take the bulk of panels until recently, but now private houses are taking over. With those solar PV farms, have added 1.7 gigawatts this year. And that brings their total up to 17.6 gigawatts. Now, when we're looking at generation today, the current demand is around about 33 gigawatts. And nearly 2 gigawatts of that is from PV farms. Volkswagen launched their new ID.7 to a disaster. Yeah, the rot has set in. The ID3 and the ID4 are dropping rapidly down the sales lists, and very disappointing results, and have virtually gone down to zero in China. The ID7 was meant to be the saviour. Come get them out of the hole they've dug for themselves. Didn't work. Maybe you need to go to plan B. Porsche Taycan, in the meantime, that one almost reached the same point. It dropped alarmingly, but they made a few changes and it's now bounced back, and they're having a bit of a run, a bit of a success on it. So good luck to them. Now, I'd just like to add an article. This comes from Timothy Oliver, one of my regular viewers, and he's sent in an article, and it's a Nissan Ariya, which I've just done the video with Phil, and it is the first vehicle ever to travel from pole to pole. Yep, North Pole, South Pole, all the way, driving. Never been done by any car before, petrol, diesel or electric. And the car was totally unmodified apart from installing snow tyres. Well, pretty logical for that one. Anyway, that's a massive achievement which seems to have bypassed the media totally, but you can always guarantee you'll find it on this channel. Well, thanks very much, Timothy. If any of you out there have similar articles, or you've got photographs or videos of anything that you've seen while you're out and about, please send them through to me. davetakesiton@gmail.com. We will now include these as a feature of most videos in the future. Well, it really is an exciting time at the moment. I hope you've enjoyed this news review, news update. There's so much happening all around the world, can't possibly include it all. And even this one is running far longer than I would have liked for a video. Well, thanks very much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please click the like button. And if you'd like to see more, please subscribe and click the notification bell so we can notify you next time we launch a video. And a massive thank you to all our Patreon supporters. It is your support that enables us to go out and make these videos for you. So thank you very much for your contribution. I'm Dave.